Hello, gorgeous human, and welcome back to Master Fiction Writing, where we unravel the mysteries and joys of the writing world, one episode at a time. I'm Stuart, your guide and fellow traveller on this literary journey, and today we're diving into a topic that I know hits close to home for many of us, which is balancing multiple writing projects without losing our minds or our muse. Hello, I'm Stuart Wakefield, an Author Accelerator Certified book coach and writer. With 26 years in theatre, broadcast media and coaching under my belt, I know what makes stories work, and I love to share that with other writers because the world of storytelling, it's like the ocean. It's deep, it's mysterious, and it's a little bit scary to those who don't know how to navigate it. And with so much left to luck and timing, it's my mission to give great books the best chance of getting into readers' hands. In each episode, I'll share tips and plans of action that will help you write, edit, and publish your book. And if you're new to writing or consciously working to improve your craft, then this is the podcast for you. Now, if you're anything like me, you've probably found yourself juggling a couple of stories at once, maybe a novel in the works, a few short stories, and let's not forget that script that suddenly popped into your head last week. It's like a circus act, right? Keeping all those plates spinning without letting one crash. And trust me, I've been there and I've got the metaphorical plate shards to prove it. But here's the good news. It's not just possible to manage multiple projects effectively, it can actually be incredibly rewarding. In today's episode, we're going to explore just how to do that, from setting realistic goals to discovering time management strategies that actually work for creative minds like ours, and we've got a lot to cover. So grab yourself a cup or a glass of something, settle in, and let's tackle this together. By the end of our chat, I hope you'll feel equipped and inspired to handle all your writing endeavours with a bit more ease and a lot less stress. So let's get started. Now, handling multiple writing projects is a bit like being a chef in a bustling kitchen. You've got different dishes cooking at various temperatures, each requiring its own special attention. It sounds fun, but it's also daunting, right? So first up, let's talk about the common issues that we as writers face when we're juggling more than one project. I think the most obvious one is deadline pressure. Whether that's self-imposed or set by a publisher or a client, deadlines can be a double-edged sword. They keep us on track, but they also add that extra layer of stress, especially when they start piling up. Then there's creative fatigue, and this really is a big one. Have you ever noticed how your brain feels like it's been through a marathon after switching between different storylines and styles? It's because creative work, especially writing, isn't just about typing words. It involves deep cognitive processes, and switching between projects can really drain your mental batteries. And then, of course, there's the challenge of prioritization. Which project deserves your immediate attention? Is it the novel that's 3/4 done, or the short story with upcoming submission deadline, or that new exciting idea that just won't leave you alone? So prioritizing can feel like choosing a favorite child sometimes. Also, let's not forget the variety of projects we often take on. Novels, scripts, articles, short stories, blog posts. Each has its own rhythm, structure, and voice. And flipping between them isn't just about managing time, it's about managing your creative mindset too. So in this segment, we're laying the groundwork for really understanding these challenges. Recognizing them is the first step towards managing them effectively. And if you're nodding along thinking that's me, then you're definitely in the right place. Remember, the goal here isn't to eliminate these challenges because that's unrealistic. Instead, we're aiming to navigate them with a bit more grace and a lot less stress. And trust me, it is entirely possible. So as we move forward, keep these challenges in mind. And in the next segment, we'll start addressing them head on, beginning with setting priorities and goals. Because let's face it, a little bit of strategy can go a long way in the writing kitchen. Stay tuned, and let's get ready to turn those challenges into opportunities. Now that we've unpacked the challenges of juggling multiple writing projects, let's roll up our sleeves and get into the nitty-gritty of setting priorities and goals. And trust me, this can be a game changer in your writing life. So first, let's talk about goals. I'm not just talking about the big finish my novel kind of goals. I mean specific bite-sized goals for each of your projects. It could be as simple as write a compelling opening paragraph for my short story, or outline the next 3 chapters of my novel. The key is to make these goals achievable and time-bound. And this approach can help you focus and provide a sense of accomplishment as you tick off these smaller goals. Now, onto the art of prioritization. This can be tricky, especially when every project feels urgent. I think a good starting point is to assess the deadlines. If you've got a submission deadline or promise dates to beta readers, you're naturally, they bubble up to the top of your list. But what about projects with external or without external deadlines? And here's where you need to weigh the value of each project. Which one aligns best with your long-term writing goals? Which project excites you the most? Because sometimes following your passion can be the best motivator. And don't forget to consider variety. Think if you've been deep in the world of editing a heavy drama, it's probably refreshing to switch gears to a lighter piece of writing. And this can keep your creative juices flowing and prevent burnout. But how do you decide what to work on when everything feels important? Now, I love using the urgent versus important matrix. So picture a grid with 4 quadrants. Tasks that are urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and neither urgent nor important. And this visual tool can really help you see where each of your projects fits and then guide you in your daily or weekly planning. And remember, it's okay to adjust your priorities as you go. Now, flexibility is a writer's best friend, right? So you might plan to work on project A, but if project B is calling to you and it aligns with your goals, it's perfectly fine to switch gears. In our next segment, we'll dive into time management, and these are strategies tailored for writers. Because let's be honest, traditional time management advice doesn't always fit our unique creative processes. So stay tuned and let's get ready to organize our writing lives in a way that feels natural and productive. After setting our priorities and goals, it's time to talk about managing our most precious resource, time. As writers, our relationship with time can be complicated, but fear not, I've got some writer-friendly time management strategies up my sleeve. First up, let's talk about the Pomodoro Technique. It's simple, yet it's effective. It's a method where you work in focused bursts. Typically, you set a timer for 25 minutes, work on one task, and then to take a 5-minute break. And after 4 Pomodoros, take a longer break. This technique can really be great for writing, especially when you're switching between projects. It keeps you focused and gives you a clear endpoint so you don't burn out. Next, consider time blocking. This means assigning specific blocks of time to different tasks or projects. For example, you might decide that Monday mornings are for working on your novel and Wednesday afternoons are for editing short stories. Time blocking can help reduce the overwhelm of having multiple projects by giving each one its dedicated space in your schedule. And then there's that matrix, which we touched on earlier. It's especially useful for those days when you're just not sure where to start. So just categorize your tasks into the matrix and tackle them accordingly. It's a straightforward way to visualize and prioritize your tasks. Now, here's something specifically for us writers, which is embracing the concept of creative time versus administrative time. Creative time is when you're actually writing, brainstorming, or editing, and then admin time is for the other stuff, answering emails, researching, marketing, and so on. Trying to keep these 2 types of work separate. It helps it maintain your creative flow when you're in the zone and ensures the admin tasks don't fall by the wayside. And also, let's talk about avoiding procrastination. It's our arch nemesis, right? So one tip is to start the day with a task you're excited about, because it sets a positive tone and it builds momentum. And if you're dreading a particular task, break it down into smaller steps to make it less daunting. Remember, these strategies aren't a one-size-fits-all, so feel free to tweak them to suit your writing style and schedule. The key is to find what works for you and helps you make the most of your writing time. Next, we'll explore some organizational tools and resources that can make managing multiple writing projects a breeze, so keep your ears peeled. Now that we've got some solid time management strategies under our belts, let's dive into the exciting world of organizational tools and resources. And these can be lifesavers when it comes to managing multiple writing projects. First, let's talk about project management software. Tools like Trello, Asana, or Notion, they can be fantastic for keeping track of your different writing projects. You can create boards or lists for each project, set deadlines, and track your progress. It's like having a personal assistant who's really good at keeping you organized. Another great resource is writing-specific software. I use Scrivener, and that's a popular choice among writers because it allows you to organize your research, notes, outlines, and drafts all in one place. And it's particularly handy when you're working on larger projects like novels or screenplays. But don't underestimate the power of the good old-fashioned calendar either. Whether it's a digital one like Google Calendar or a physical planner, having that visual representation of your deadlines and writing sessions can make a world of difference. And color-coding different projects can add an extra layer of organization. And let's be honest, it's also pretty fun. Now, for the more tech-savvy among us, writing apps can be a real game changer. Apps like Forest can help you stay focused during writing sessions by encouraging you not to use your phone. And then there are dictation apps, which are great for capturing ideas or even drafting content when you're away from your keyboard. Let's not forget about the humble notebook, though. Sometimes the act of writing down your goals, plans, and ideas can be incredibly powerful. Plus, there's something really satisfying about physically crossing off tasks as you complete them. And a quick note on cloud storage services like Dropbox or Google Drive. They can be incredibly useful for accessing your work from anywhere, especially if you're the kind of writer who likes to switch up their writing spots. The key with these tools and resources is to find what works for you. It might take some experimenting, but once you find the right combination, it can really streamline your writing process and reduce the overwhelm of managing those multiple projects. Up next, we'll talk about maintaining your creative energy and avoiding burnout, because let's face it, even with the best tools and plans, we need to take care of our creative selves. Okay, so we've armed ourselves with strategies and tools, and there's one more crucial piece to the puzzle of managing multiple writing projects, and that's maintaining our creative energy and avoiding burnout. And this, my fellow writers, is essential for the long haul. First and foremost, recognize the signs of burnout. Are you feeling unusually tired, irritable, or disinterested in writing? Because these can be red flags. Burnout sneaks up on us, often disguised as just a rough day. But if those rough days become the norm, it's time to step back and reassess. One key strategy is to ensure you're taking regular breaks, and I mean real breaks, not just switching from one project to another. Step away from your writing space, go for a walk, meditate, read, indulge in another hobby. This isn't just downtime, it's recharge time. It allows your brain to rest and your creativity to replenish. And balancing your writing life with other aspects of your life is also crucial. It's easy to get so absorbed in our writing that we neglect our social life, physical health, and even our mental well-being. Remember, a well-rounded life feeds a well-rounded writer. So make time for your friends, family, exercise, and relaxation. Another great tip is to vary your writing tasks. If you've been working intensively on a particularly challenging aspect of one project, switch to something lighter or more enjoyable for a bit. This can provide a much-needed mental break and keep the joy in your writing. Also, let's talk about setting realistic expectations. It's great to be ambitious, but overloading yourself with unrealistic goals can lead to frustration and burnout. So celebrate those small victories and progress, no matter how minor they might seem, because every word you write is a step forward. Also, don't be afraid to ask for help or delegate tasks, especially non-writing ones. Whether it's asking family members to pitch in more at home or hiring a virtual assistant for some admin tasks, freeing up more of your time for writing can be a huge relief. And finally, remember why you started writing in the first place. Reconnect with the joy and passion that drew you to this task, because sometimes visiting old works or writing something just for fun without any pressure can reignite that creative spark. And this is something I work on with my story development clients. Some of the first steps we look at is, why are you writing this work? What point are you trying to make, and why are you the best person to write it? And I find that when they get to that point where they're, they get to burnout, or they are starting to ask themselves, why did I ever start this novel? I take them back to those points, and often they're kind of the rocket fuel that keeps them writing forward. Before I wrap up, I invite you to do all the usual stuff. You know the drill: like, review, share and subscribe. But better than all of that, come and visit me at thebookcoach.co. You can sign up for my free self-editing guide and take a look at the services I provide. But there's tons, and I mean tons of free useful stuff on my blog too. And just like that, we've reached the end of today's episode on balancing multiple writing projects. It's been an absolute pleasure to share these insights and strategies with you, and I hope you're walking away feeling a little more equipped and a lot more inspired. We've covered a lot of ground today, from understanding the challenges of juggling multiple projects to setting realistic goals and priorities, implementing effective time management strategies using organizational tools, and most importantly, maintaining our creative energy and avoiding burnout. And remember, the key is to find what works best for you and to be flexible and kind to yourself. Please be kind to yourself in the process. If there's one thing I want you to take away from today's episode, it's this: you are not alone in this journey. Every writer faces these challenges, and with the right approach, they can be managed and even mastered. So whether you're working on your first project or your 50th, please keep going. Your stories are important, and the world needs to hear them. And whenever you need a little guidance or encouragement, just remember I'm here for you, sharing tips, stories, and plenty of writerly camaraderie. So until next time, keep writing, keep dreaming, and keep believing in the power of your words. You've got this. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I'm conscious there are a lot of podcasts out there, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to mine. But also, well done for investing some time in your own writing life. And yes, this podcast is about writing, but I'm here for you, not just your stories.